So welcome to topic 9, application of equation, our last topic for the semester, probably the most complicated too, since guys need to do some critical thinking to really understand and do the problems. So to do that, we need to know some keywords. So in math, there are keywords that indicate certain operations, such as add, sum, plus, increase by, more than, which typically indicates addition. Subtract difference minus decreased by less than less subtracted from typically says that we're going to do some subtractions. Multiply product times we're going to do multiply, and divided by quotient and pair means we're going to do some division. So you might notice that some of them are underlined. That's basically says that the order is reversed. What do we mean by the order? Well, we'll get to that later. So let's have our first example. We have 17 increased by a number. So when we're dealing with word problems and we want to translate it into numbers, what we're going to do is we're going to underline keywords that relates to math. So 17 is already 17, so we don't need to translate that. But other words that relates to math that we can translate, well, we have increased by, which is right here, and a number. A number is something relating to math, right? So we underline that. We don't know what a number is yet. So increase by is addition. So we're going to translate that to addition. And a number is basically a variable. So we're going to translate that into a variable. So in this case, I put x. You can put any letter you want except O, since it looks like a 0. So minus. So typically we just use x, and then when we translate that, 17 increased by a number is basically 17 plus x, or 17 plus x. Now let's move on. The product of 7 and a number. Again, we're going to underline a keywords, product of and a number. Well, product is multiplication and a number is a variable. In this case, we put j. So what we're basically doing is we're multiplying 7 and j. 7 times j, or we can even shortcut that into just 7j. We don't need to indicate multiplication. Now, how about 10 decreased by a number? Well, decreased by is subtraction. So it's going to be, and a number is a variable, so it's going to be a different letter, let's say k. So what 10 decreased by a number is basically 10 minus k. Now let's have more examples. So we have 4 subtracted from a number. So again, we want to underline the keywords subtracted from and a number. So subtracted from is subtraction, so it's minus and x. So it's going to be 4 minus x. But if you answer this is wrong. So think of this as a word problem. So you went to school from your home. So where did you come from? Did you came from the school or did you came from home? You came from home, right? So home, then school. So when we're dealing with, when it ends with from and then, the order is reversed. So here's the order. So now you know what the order is. So instead of 4 minus x, it's going to be x minus 4. So here's a quick reminder. So subtracted from ends with from, hence order is reversed. Even that, okay? So we have 9 less than a number. Again, underline the keywords less than, not just less, but less than, and a number. A number is a variable. Now let's translate. Less than is minus, and a number is x or y. But are we going to put 9 minus y? No, because our keyword here ends with the word than. So instead of 9 minus y, it's going to be y minus 9. 9 minus y is going to be y minus 9. Sorry about that. Now let's have more examples. A few more examples, then we're moving on. So the quotient of a number and 10. First thing first, underline. The quotient of a number, the quotient of is division and a number is x. So it's not going to be like this. This is wrong actually. So the order is actually x divided by 10. Because a number comes first, and then here instead of 10 over x, it's actually x over 10. Not 1 10. So when we have division word problems, I kind of want you guys to write it in fractions, so it looks a bit easier on the eye. And the order is basically left to right. So whoever is the quotient, since it doesn't say the order is reversed, we say a number comes first and then 10. X and then 10. Got it? Okay. We're moving on. So we have 6 more than a number. First thing first, underline. More than any number are keywords. Now let's translate it. It's going to be a plus, and a number is going to be, let's say, z. Now let's put it together. Since it ends with the word than, instead of 6 plus z, it's going to be z plus 6. So just keep in mind than and from, orders reversed, everything else write it as is. So now what do we do when we're dealing with multiple operations? So word problems not only indicate one operation, sometimes it gives you 2 operations. So how do we translate that? Well, here let's have an example. So we have 2 statements here. The sum of 2 and a number multiplied all by 8, and the sum of 2 and a product of 8 and a number. So if we underline the keywords here, we have sum, the sum of, we have a number multiplied all by, and in this case we have sum of a product of and a number. So we have a plus, a variable, and multiplication. We have a plus, a multiplication, and a variable. So they're basically the same. You might think, oh, they're basically the same, but you'll be wrong. Again, let's translate it out. We have sum is add, 2 is 2, a number is, let's say, a in this case, multiplied all is multiplication, and 8 is 8. Here, it's pretty much the same thing. Sum of is addition, product of is multiplication, and a number is a variable, in this case, x. Now, let's try the first part of the example. How do you tackle this? The sum of 2 and a number multiplied all by 8. So what you do is we do the most complete sentence. So in this case, the first sentence, or the first part of the sentence, the sum of 2 and a number is something we can do it already, something we can translate it already, right? If you just remove multiplied all by 8, you can translate this part already, right? And if you translate this, the sum of 2 and a number is basically going to be 2 plus 8, right? And rightfully so. And then once you add those two, once you translate that part of the sentence, you can close that with the parentheses, since we're going to tackle it with another operation. In this case, is multiplied all by 8. So not only are we multiplying a by 8, we're also multiplying 2 by 8. So just indicate it with a parentheses, and we're multiplying everything here by 8. Pretty simple, right? Now let's move on to the second part of the problem example. And we're going to do the same thing we did in the first part into this second part. So the sum of 2 and a product. Can we already translate that? No, right? Because we don't know what product is. So this is not a complete sentence that a complete part of the sentence that we can fully translate. So let's move from this part, and let's look at the latter half of the sentence. A product of 8 and a number. Is that something we can translate? Yes. That's basically going to be 8x. So or basically 8 times x, but we can shortcut it to 8x. And then now that we're done with this part, a product of 8 and a number, let's move on to the part we just bypassed, the sum of. So now we had to do what? So we're going to add 2 and what? 8? Nope. X? Nope. What we're going to add with 2 is 8x. So the sum of 2 and a product of 8 and a number is 2 plus 8x. So intuitively, we do the first operation, and then the operation afterwards is the second operation. But sometimes you can't do it because it doesn't make sense. So what do? Well, you skip the first operation and look at it. You skip the first part of the sentence and you go to the second part, the latter half of the sentence. Okay. So let's have some more translation with multiple operations. So we have 3 subtracted from the product of 2 and a number. Again, underline. Underline is like your best friend when you're translating word problems of any kind. So we have subtracted from product of and a number. Now let's translate that. So first thing first, let's look at the first half of the sentence. So we have 3 subtracted from the product. Can we do that part of the sentence yet? Nope. So let's move on. The product of 2 and a number. Yes, that's basically going to be 2y. 2 times y or 2y. Now we have 3 subtracted from 2y. Are we going to have 3 minus 2y? No, because the word from, we're going to lose the order reverse. So instead of 3 minus 2y, it's going to be 2y minus 3. Now let's have another one. 5 more than a number doubled. So more than is a keyword, a number is a keyword. and doubled is a keyword. Now let's translate. More than is addition. A number is some kind of variable. And doubled is, are we going to add 2 to that? If you double something, do you add 2? No, right? We multiply it twice, or you multiply it by 2. So now let's translate. 5 more than a number. Is that a complete sentence? Yes. So let's translate that already. Is it going to be 5 plus h when we translate this part of the sentence? No. What is it going to be? It's going to be h plus 5. H plus 5. Now let's move on to the next part. All doubled, and we're going to just multiply h plus 5 by 2. Again, don't forget to indicate your parentheses, especially when you're doing addition subtraction first. If it's multiplication division, you don't need to indicate it, because most of the time, or this operation will just tell you straight out, do multiplication first, then addition. But in this case, what do we do first? We do some addition first. So we have to indicate that with a parentheses, just in case. I'm just explaining this part, just in case you don't know why we're doing the parentheses part. Now let's move on to the next part. 9 less than twice a number. Again, first thing first, underline. Less than twice a number. Less than is subtraction. Twice is the same thing as doubled. We're multiplying by 2. And in this case, a number, let's say a t. Okay? Now let's translate that. First thing first, do the first half. 9 less than twice. Does that make sense? Can we subtract 9 from twice? No. So let's forget the first half first, and let's move on to the second part. Twice a number. What's twice a number? It's going to be 2t. So now we know that we're going to do some 9 less than 2t. Is it going? So if you translate that, are we going to get 9 minus 2t? Nope, it's going to be 2t minus 9. Now you're pretty good with translating expressions to word problems to expression, right? So let's step it up a bit. So from expression, you guys know that the next step forward is equation, and that's where we're going. So we're going to translate a new word, equals. So equals, again, if you don't know what the heck equals that sign right there. And equals has 7 words that indicate what it is. Okay, so amounts to, represent, total, is, and was, indicate, equal sign. There are other words, but this is the 4 most common. Well, let's add one more. This one is also, this word also means equal. So how do we translate it? Well, let's do something easy for us. Let's do something easier. Okay, so we have the difference of 110 and 80 is 30. Now, that's the complete sentence now, right? Unlike the previous one, that's like fragments in English. This one is a complete sentence. when we have complete sentence, basically you're doing equation, okay? Just a key note, key trick to remember. Again, first thing first, underline the, let's move. I'm going off topic, let's focus here. So the difference of 110 and 80 is 30. Underline difference of, underline is. Now let's translate. So we have difference of is obviously going to be subtraction. And is, don't forget our new word, is equal sign. So a key note right here below. So whatever comes before the word that means equal sign, in this case is always going to be in the left hand side. So this part is going to be on your left hand side, okay? And anything to the right of this word that means equal sign is going to be on the right hand side. So you might say, well, duh, that's pretty obvious, but later down the line when we're adding variables here, some people put it on everything on one side, and they'll get confused, and then they just don't do the problem. So I just want to put that key note right here, so you don't get confused when you're translating word problems to equation. I know this is kinda hard to understand, but please bear with me. I'm gonna edit this later on, but right now this is the best I can say. So let's just need is first. So now you know. So we translate is to equal sign first, so you know which part of the word, which part of the sentence is your left hand side and which part of your sentence is on your right hand side. Just a simple indication. So in this case, this part, the difference of 110 and 80 is going to be on your left hand side. So let's translate that, and it's going to be 110 minus 80 is equal to 30. Well, 30 is by itself, so just leave it as is. And is that true? 110 minus 80 is equal to 30? Yes, that's true. So you translated correctly. Again, order is just there's no from and then, so order is just left right. Now let's move on. Let's make it a bit more complicated. The product of 3 and the sum of -9 and 11 amounts to 6. First thing first, translate the word that means equal sign to equal sign. In this case, it's amounts to. Amounts to is equal sign. Now you know which part of the sentence is going to be your left hand side and which part of your sentence is going to be your right hand side. Start with the left hand side first. And pretty much do the same thing you did in expression. Can we translate the product of 3 and the sum already? Nope, we can't. Because we don't know what the sum is. It's not even a variable. But So let's move on to the second part, the sum of negative 9 and 11. Is that something we can do? Yes. So it's going to be negative 9 plus 11. And now the product of 3, negative 9 plus 11 is going to be 3 times parentheses negative 9 plus 11 parentheses is equal to 6. So let's have another one. The product of 24 and negative 6 yields negative 4. Again, underline. Quotient of and yields. Quotient of is division. And yield, first thing first, translate equal sign first. Yields is your equal sign. Don't translate anything yet. My bad on that. So now you identify which part of your sentence is your left hand side and your right hand side. Left hand side says the quotient of 24 and negative 6. Quotient of is division, so we're going to do 24. If we translate this into a formula, into an equation, it's going to be 24 divided by negative 6 on 24 over negative 6. Yields is your equal sign and negative 4 is your negative 4. So let's do some variables. This previous examples didn't have variables. Now we're going to add some variables into our word problems. And a surprise, if you guys don't know how to do topic 8, you will have trouble in topic 9, so get on to that. In this case, we have 5 less than the product of 4 and a number. Is 4 more than the number? First thing first, underline. Less than product of a number is more than the number. As you can see, there's two numbers here. There's two variables, right? And you might be tempted to put two different types of variables. But no, do not. When we're dealing with equations, unless specified to, always make it the same variable. Makes life easier for us. It makes calculation much easier, and you guys don't have to find two variables. So first thing first, look at the word that means equal sign. In this case is. Now you know which part is your left hand side and which part is your right hand side. Let's focus on your left hand side. 5 less than the product of 4 and a number. Again, translate it to numerical form. 5 less than the product. Can we do something like that? Nope. So, what the heck am I doing? Let's move on to the next part, the product of negative 4 and a number. Is that something we can do? Yes, and that's basically going to be product is multiplication and number is less. In this case, in this example, we'll use the variable q. So it's going to be 4q. So now we have 5 less than 4q. So is it going to be 5 minus 4q? No. Why is that? Because I said so? No, because it has this word, than. Than indicates what do we do with the order of the numbers? We do it the reverse. So instead of 5 minus 4q, it's going to be 4q minus 5, as indicated in this part. Now let's move on to the right hand side of the equation of the sentence. 4 more than the number. So is it going to be, again, we want to have the same variable. Since we use q on this variable, we have to use q on this variable. So now let's translate for more than the number. The number is q. So more than is going to be addition. So are we going to do some 4 plus q? No. It's going to be q plus 4. A. We have an equation and we have a variable. Do you know what to do? Do you know what we can do? In this type of questions, when we have a full sentence, instead of just translating it, we can figure out what is the value of q. And yes, you need to just because yes, the test will expect you guys to figure out the value of q when we have a complete an equation sentence that you translate. You have to also find what the value of the variable is. So now we have 4q minus 5 equals q plus 4. Again, this is why I told you to, this is why I warned you about topic 8. So in this case, what do? We move the smaller variable. In this case, which one's the smaller variable? Q is our smaller variable. Q minus Q, 4Q minus Q. So subtract Q minus Q is 0, so we're left with 4. 4Q minus Q is 3Q minus 5. We just bring down minus 5. Now we have 3Q minus 5 equals 4. Now, what do we want? Again, when we're solving equations, we want the variable by itself. We want Q by itself. So we want to get rid of that 3. We want to get rid of that minus 5. So which one you should do first? The constant number. You get rid of the constant number. In this case, 3 is not a constant, but 5 is. So how do we do undo minus 5? We add 5. Since we added 5 here, you also added 5 on the other side of the line. So it's going to be 3q by itself. 4 plus 5 is 9. 3q equals 9. Now we want to get rid of that 3. So what do? We divide both sides by 3. 3q divided by 3 equals 9 divided by 3. You're left with q is equal to 3. So your final answer is q equals to 3. Okay, 2 more examples, and we'll end this video right here. So from here, so now instead of just translating, we're also solving word problems. So we have 12 subtracted from twice a number equals 5 times the number. So translate. First thing first, underline. Figure out which one is the equal sign. In this case, it's pretty obvious. This is your equal sign. This is your equal. And now we know left hand side and right hand side. Let's do right hand side first. 12 subtracted from twice a number is, translate that. Give you a few seconds, don't look at the answer yet. So are we going to do some, or can we do 12 subtracted from twice? Nope. So we move on to the second part. Twice a number. Twice a number is 2 times a variable. In this case, I use the letter R, so it's going to be 2R. Now we have 12 subtracted from 2r. Is it going to be 12 minus 2r? No, because of this word from, the order is reversed. So instead of 12 minus 2r, is going to be 2r minus 12. And that's your left hand side. Moving on to right hand side, we have 5 times the number, so it's going to be 5r. So our new equation is 12r minus 12 is equal to 5r. So first thing first, we have an equation, so what do? Get rid of this, and we have two variables on both sides. On either side of the equation, what do? Well, we're going to move the smaller variable, in this case 2r. How? We subtract. Subtract 2r on both sides. We're going to get 0, and then minus 12 becomes negative 12. 5r minus 2r is 3r. Now, our goal is r by itself, so we had to get rid of that 3. How so? We divide. Divide both sides by 3. 12. So 12, negative 12 divided by 3. Well, is our answer going to be positive or negative? Negative, because different signs subtracting, different signs division way is going to be negative. Or think of this, is the how many negatives are there when we're dividing? We have only negative 12, right? Negative 12 is just one variable. One negative. One negative is odd or even. Odd. That means our answer is going to be negative. That's topic 7. Oh no, topic 6. My bad. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. 3r over 3 is r. Now our last example. We have 6 more than the product of 2 and a number is a number plus 9. Okay, this one's a bit confusing, so let's change the a to the. So we have 6 more than the product of 2 and a number is the number plus 9. Underline the keywords. Boom, 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 boom. Is your equal sign. Now you know which one is your left hand side and your right hand side. Focus on the left hand side first. 6 more than the product of 2 and a number. So what do we do first? We do this, the product of 2 and a number, and it's just basically going to be 2y. And now let's move back to the first part. 6 more than 2y is going to be 6 plus 2y. Nope, it's going to be 2y plus 6. Now let's move on to the right hand side, the number plus 9, and it's going to be same variable y plus 9, which is our final answer. So our equation is 2y plus 6 equals y plus 9. Now we want to solve for y. So move the smaller variable, in this case y, and how do we do that? We subtract both sides by negative, and we subtract y on both sides. So y minus y is 0, so we're left with 9. 2y minus y is y, and we just bring down plus 6. So it's going to be y plus 6 is equal to 9. We want y by itself, so we have to get rid of that plus 6. subtract both sides by 6, and you're left with y is equal to 3. And that's it for this part of the video.